Nice
to see you.
President, good
Nice
to see you again.
How you doing?
Hi,
Now, where do you want us?
Good morning. How are
Right
you?
here. We're here. We'll
Nice
take
to
of our
see you.
little studio.
It's great.
It's all right, isn't it?
Tucked away. Great.
I don't think I'll need them, but I just...
I want to say while we're getting these ready, thank you very much for the time.
Bright and early, somebody is out here this morning, including you, I think, but I couldn't see the lights.
Well, I know that the
If
people.
this was not showbiz, I'd go to work at 7, so it's, nobody had to wake me out of bed.
One of your aides said you were late because it was only 5 up.
That's right.
I was a little worried
Because it's a good time to get up. The formal meetings start at 8. With intelligence, they call it PDB, President's Daily Briefing, which has the CIA. But that gives you an hour beforehand. So you have some guests in or... So it was, I just wanted you to know we weren't putting on an act to impress you that we got up early.
No, it was a nice shot, and we appreciate it.
I hope
I was a little worried about
We
running.
might come around the other way, the outside Kaufman. Don't
He
we
was out there without a coat on. Friends with his brother.
Are you?
How are you, Tom? Well, as I said, thank you very much for the time. The people of New Hampshire appreciate it. Mr. President, this week for the first time, it seems, you and your administration have publicly now talked about this economy and acknowledged its seriousness. And the people of New Hampshire, many people would say, Mr. President, we've known it for a couple of years and it's been real bad, and they feel you've been a little late on that. And do you regret not coming out a little sooner, talking about the economy? Because in New Hampshire, there's a lot of hurt.
Well, one, I know there's a lot of hurt. Two, I think you're right about the perception. Three, the reality is sometimes different from perception. I bet the people in New Hampshire didn't know that for the last 3 years, I have proposed in the State of the Union message, heard by all the American people, a growth package to stimulate the economy. So I think there is this perception, and yes, it concerns me, but it isn't just the last couple of weeks that I've talked about it. I do think it's getting in better focus, though, the concern that I have felt for a long time. And I bear the responsibility for if there's the perception different than the reality. So what I want to say to the people in New Hampshire is we are doing absolutely everything we can. We will have further proposals to make, as you know, at the State of the Union, and but it is a matter of great concern, not just New Hampshire, which is, you know, I think it's fair to say is suffered recession, but the whole country is hurting.
Why the perception, though? Some would say if there's the perception that you haven't gotten your message out, your new Chief of Staff, Mr. Skinner, if published reports are true, was saying he was even surprised when he got inside the Oval Office, looked at all the domestic initiatives. He was even saying, surprised that we haven't heard about it. So why the perception? If you had come out at the end of the summer and talked about the economy a little more, maybe folks in New Hampshire would feel a little better.
Well, that's true, and I regret that. But you know, to check how we behave and work, I had people go back 1 year ago today. Barbara and I had them over at the White House last night. And do you know what the criticism was then? That I hadn't explained to the nation exactly what we were doing on Desert Storm or why I had moved forces. I don't know the answer to your question, but I know that in Desert Storm we did what we had to do, got the job done. American people saw it ex post facto. Here, I have been concerned. We've been making proposal after proposal, but I'm the guy that has to share the blame for the people of New Hampshire not knowing that I know that they are hurting. I can't blame somebody else for that, but we get pounded every night on the media with the bad news. You know that. You go back and have your people analyze the coverage. And so when the country is in difficult times, the president has to take the heat on it. Now, having said that, we have good proposals, we have had good proposals, and we'll have more proposals. I signed a good jobs bill yesterday. It'll mean $200 million to New Hampshire over the next couple of years. That's jobs for New Hampshire. I hope that got through to the people there.
Let's talk about the antithesis with the economy and politics in 4 years in New Hampshire. When you were running successfully in '88, banks were doing okay, real estate was okay, people could get jobs, high-tech, defense. Now someone's laid off in New Hampshire at this difficult time of the year. Banking executives, insurance people, not just construction people.
No, white collar.
It's tough to get a job next Monday, and some people are out for months. And it's people are really concerned, and they may even want to like you because you've been really positive and popular in New Hampshire. But they're now worried. I can't find a job, Mr. President.
Well, I think that's why we've got to get past some of the growth initiatives that I have proposed. IRAs for first-time home buyers is one. Capital gains to start small businesses. If a guy's thrown out of work, he doesn't care where it comes from. He wants a new job. And some incentives, and I say we have proposed it, we're going to repackage and propose again, incentives like a capital gains cut that my opponents label a tax cut for the rich. It's a jobs bill. Now, I also think banking reform would help. You mentioned the financial institutions. Bottled up in Congress is a banking reform bill that would stimulate more lending. People are starving for credit in New Hampshire. So I think first place, I don't think there's a quick and easy fix to it. Secondly, it is clear people are hurting. Third, we've got to get through the Congress some of these incentives that will stimulate the economy as best we can.
How upset, frankly, are you with Congress in terms of not acting on these? And,
Yeah.
and is this what we're going to hear? Obviously, it started, the First Lady was in New Hampshire yesterday. She had a candid response to one of our reporters saying, Congress, is that going to sound like finger-pointing?
Yes,
to
I'm afraid
people?
it is. So what I want to do is suggest at the time of the State of the Union, look, people are hurting out there. They don't care whether it's Democrat, Republican. Let's lay politics aside and get something passed. She certainly was expressing on my behalf the frustration that I have felt. But what I think the people in New Hampshire want is action. They don't care who gets credit. They're hurting. And we're trying to help. And that's why I was pleased about the jobs bill. I'll tell you one thing that is a current up there in New Hampshire. Some are trying to say on the left and on the right, the answer is protection. New Hampshire depends to a large degree on exports. And so I am not a protectionist. I don't want to kind of come in there with
I take it you're talking about Pat Buchanan here.
Not just. I'm talking about the left, too. I'm talking about the Democrats on the left who say America first and American job. The exports have been the saving grace of a lousy economy. And the one way to kill them off is to go back to this siren's call of protection. And I will not tolerate that. I think of New Hampshire as a free trade state, certainly, and a fair trade state. Expand the markets abroad.
What's your message to those Democrats running in New Hampshire for president and a Republican, Pat Buchanan, who are running around 3 or 4 days a week now saying you've failed to address the domestic issues in the economy and you've been a foreign policy president? What do you say to them?
I say, thank God there is a world that looks like it's a little more peaceful, where the little kids in the dairy school I talked to the other day don't have to worry quite as much about nuclear war, although we're still dealing with the nuclear weapons problem in the Soviet Union. Thank God we have an administration that knows how to bring people together to talk peace. And then let's use this newfound worldwide credibility of the United States to expand jobs by opening markets. So that's the way I'd handle the criticism on foreign trade.
I don't think anyone in my state would question how remarkable your accomplishments have been in the foreign policy arena. In fact, sometimes we take them for granted or forget them. Soviet Union breaking down, the wall in Germany, you can go on and on. But when you look back on your first term, and hindsight's a perfect clear vision, as we
sure
know,
it is.
but do you think it was a little too foreign policy intensive and not enough domestic?
No, I don't.
And now we're going to see
I think
more
a
focus
president
on the domestic?
the president has to have the responsibility not only for domestic tranquility and prosperity, but for the national security. And it is only the United States that can lead, and I think the people in New Hampshire understand that. What I got to make them understand is, one, we've had some good ideas on the economy. Two, we're very concerned about those that are hurting and out of work. And now let's get something done on it. You'll have 1,000 ideas coming out of this primary in New Hampshire, but let's see which ones are realistic and which ones are just for the political soundbite by the opposition. I have to deal with the problems. I'm sitting across the street dealing with them every single day, and I can't be afforded some grand scheme that'll raise the deficit but sounds good to people that are hurting. I have to be responsible. There's a difference there.
The first in the nation primary, you know it well from 1988 when you said the words, "Thank you, New Hampshire." You've talked a little bit about how you're going to get people over the question, if they're not better off in their own household than 4 years ago, you're telling them now that you're going to be now focusing and proposing these initiatives and working hard on
I say I hope like heck you will be better off by next year. Most economists predict it. Having said that, most economists were wrong last summer when all of them said we would have nationally, not New Hampshire, nationally have some, you know, rather active growth in the fourth quarter. Now, all of them have gone south. People don't see that. So what I'm saying is more important than the primary election or the general election is let's do what's right by the economy. Let's help the people that are hurting. And if I can get that done, then I don't need to worry about all the political carping. It's going to be hard, though, with an election year. There's going to be a lot of posturing out there.
One phrase I'm sure you know is that in '88, read my lips, no new taxes. And I'm sure your people have already guessed the attacks coming from the Democrats and others in the primary and the election. But do you regret that budget summer when you had to go back a little bit to compromise in that pledge? If you had it to do over again, do you think you would have held on?
I'd try to do it in a different way, I think, because there is a lot of rhetoric out there. Thank God we have caps on spending. I don't think people remember the fact that the domestic spending accounts are capped. Congress cannot recklessly spend money the way they used to. That was a very positive thing. Raising taxes, in one instance, was certainly not positive. And I think of when President Reagan had to raise taxes, he got the same criticism I've gotten, and people understand it. So nobody likes raising taxes, particularly in New Hampshire.
People want to see you coming up between now and February 18th?
I expect I'll be there, yeah.
Expect you might be there?
I expect it. It is a very important state, and it's not just the primary. As you know, I go in and out of Pease Air Force Base, and so it's not that I'm out of touch with New Hampshire entirely. I talk to people around there, but it is the fact that this part of our country, New England, is going through what my part, Texas, went through 2 or 3 years ago, and they need help, and that's what we're trying to do.
You have a busy schedule. I think we're short on time. One final question on the primary, because that's what people in New Hampshire are talking about. What's your opinion of the field of announced major Democrats, and do you think New York's Governor Mario Cuomo will or should get in? Honestly, what's your opinion of that?
It's up to him, and let those other guys take him on. Nobody's going to give anybody a free ride on the Democratic side.
If he plans on taking
the last thing I should do is get involved in the Democratic primary side. I've never done it, and I say, hey, we'll take on whoever's the winner.
And not worried about Pat Buchanan in New Hampshire?
No, let him do his thing, and I'll do mine, and I have confidence that the people in New Hampshire will do the right thing by us. But they got to know, and this is why I appreciate this visit, that how much I care about this economy, what we're trying to do to straighten it out. We got a good team in New Hampshire, incidentally, first-class team that transcends this ideological spectrum, and I am very grateful to the people in New Hampshire that are signed up and enthusiastically working.
Any regrets with former Governor John Sununu as Chief of Staff? Are you pleased with his service?
No, I've told in my letter to him, I express from my bottom of my heart my profound appreciation to him. And we're friends. He's a great, loyal friend to our family, and that means something to me, family, and to Barbara. And so he ran into some rough water here, but go back in history. What Chief of Staff hasn't? When you stand up and take arrows that are aimed at the boss and you put your own chest in the way, you get hurt, you bleed a little. And I've hated that for John and Nancy and their wonderful family, but he's done it. He's a loyal trooper. So I have nothing but good and kind things to say about my friend.
Mr. President, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Merry Christmas to you.
Same to you. Thank you.
And all at your station, too.
Thank you. Guess we're moving seats.
All right.